from masked federal agents using tear gas against people exercising their First Amendment rights in broad view, to mask uniformed federal agents carrying automatic rifles as they menace people in downtown Chicago. In downtown Chicago, which is well patrolled by both the Chicago Police Department and the Cook County Sheriff's Office. The images we have seen in Chicago area look more like a region under siege than they do America in peacetime. If it was not clear from before, it should be plain now. The president's goal is to sow chaos, instill fear in Chicagoans and the American people at large. It's also clear that this has never been about fighting crime. Let me state clearly, I am not averse to the President of the United States wanting to be helpful in fighting crime in American cities. I'm not averse to federal law enforcement agencies contributing to fighting crime in American cities. In fact, we have had a great history of collaboration with those federal law enforcement agencies that are trained to fight crimes on the local level. However, if the president were sincere about fighting crime, he would devote more resources to those federal law enforcement agencies with whom we have partnered with, which we have had a great working relationship with, instead of either cutting their budgets or reassigning their agents to doing immigration work instead of crime-fighting work. He would not be cutting funding from community violence interruption. He would not be depriving victims of crime of the resources they need based on unrelated immigration criteria. Instead, he's federalizing the state of Oregon's National Guard. And as the governor laid out, he's following the same pattern that he followed in Oregon, and we just received a memo. Same steps that were followed in Oregon. The mobilization of the military isn't just an ineffective strategy to address crime. It is illegal. That is why I stand in solidarity with my colleague, Oregon Attorney General Dan Rayfield. We've been in contact over the weekend as well as earlier this morning, who filed a lawsuit yesterday against the Trump administration's mobilization of the National Guard there. The 10th Amendment preserves states' sovereignty to enforce state laws as they see fit. The Posse Comitatus Act, as I've stated before, limits the federal government's ability to use the military for domestic law enforcement. A judge in California recognized that fact earlier this month. And the militia clauses of the United States Constitution give Congress sole authority to decide what factual circumstances allow the president to federalize the National Guard. They don't exist here. The president has failed to establish that any of the legal prerequisites exist for his efforts to federalize the Guard. Which is why litigation challenging these efforts is now pending in multiple courts. And if the evidence follows, if the pattern follows what we've seen in Oregon, he should expect a legal challenge here as well. As a matter of fact, this afternoon, we're filing a lawsuit challenging the administration's unlawful reallocation of more than $100 million in public safety and disaster relief funds away from Illinois and other states around the country. These funds, under the Homeland Security Grant Program, help states protect against acts of terrorism and are a critical source of money for networks of police departments, fire departments, emergency services, and public works departments across the country. In this latest action by the administration, the cut to Illinois funds alone is over $30 million. None of this chaos and none of these acts make us safer. To be clear, our U.S. Constitution is still the law of the land. It is generally unlawful for people to be subject to detention or search without probable cause or reasonable suspicion to believe that a crime has been committed. Due process is still required when someone is deprived of their liberty. The First Amendment still protects the right to free speech and peaceably and lawfully assemble, which includes the right to express one's views even if those views are critical of government policies and how they're being carried out. That said, it is important to note that protesters must also comply with applicable laws. For example, the First Amendment does not allow for protesters to assault, intimidate, interfere with an officer of the United States government or local government while they are engaged in their performance, or to obstruct or impede federal civil immigration vehicles or enforcement operation. Clearly, this deployment of the federal officers into our well-policed central business district is meant to provoke Chicagoans. What the president is hoping to do is foment chaos by inciting out-of-control protests. So I urge Illinoisans, don't take the bait. There is no emergency in Chicago. Don't help him create one. Exercise your First Amendment rights, but do so peacefully, without violence or destruction of property. If you see what you believe to be civil rights being violated, use your phone or camera to document it, to bear witness. My office is monitoring these images, and so are legal and civil rights organizations around the city, the state, and the nation. I'm here to say that no president can flout the Constitution. The rule of law matters in the state of Illinois, and we will not hesitate to preserve it.